I think it's pretty obvious, but Persona 5 and its re-release Persona 5 Royal are my favourite games of all time. The gameplay and art direction of this game are damn near perfect, and to top it all off, the story beats that this game hit are phenomenal. Now don't get me wrong, for every Kamoshida we do have a Kaneshiro, but overall, the story is a strong highlight that captivates players such as myself. However, in Persona 5 Royal, they did something interesting with their newly added content. For those of you that don't know, Persona 5 Royal added in an extra semester into the story and 3 new confidants in Dr. Maruki, Kasumi Yoshizawa, and Goro Okechi. And yes, I know he was a confidant in the original game, but back then it was an auto-confidant, meaning that it would progress automatically with the story. All of these characters' fates are directly linked, which leads me on to the most important character of the trio, Dr. Maruki. Now for those of you who haven't played the game yet, I would suggest you click off now and go play it for yourself because I'm about to go into heavy spoilers from here on out. Okay, giving you guys enough time. Dr. Maruki is the most important character out of the trio as he is the final antagonist of Persona 5 Royal, as his beliefs directly contrast the Phantom Thieves' beliefs, and his plan directly undermines and undoes everything they've worked for over the course of the campaign. Specifically in this video, I would like to look at Maruki's plan, the consequences of him fulfilling his plan, good and bad, and whether or not Maruki was morally in the wrong for wanting to fulfill his plan. But before we get to that, I want to make sure you guys have left a like and subscribed. We are close to 1,000 subscribers and we'll definitely hit it soon with your support. In this section, I want to give you guys a quick rundown of who Maruki is, so for any of you that want to skip ahead, feel free to do so. Years prior to the events of Persona 5 Royal, Maruki's fiancée, Rumi, witnessed her parents being murdered during a home invasion, and in the process she was heavily injured. This left her in a catatonic state in which Maruki tried to comfort her out of, but whenever he brought up her family, which were her trigger words, they would cause her to have a breakdown. During this period, Maruki was researching the cognitive world for a paper which he was hoping to get funding for and help the world in a similar way to the Phantom Thieves, which was to change criminals' hearts so they wouldn't commit crimes. On this particular day, unbeknownst to him, he made a deal with an unawoken persona at the time, Azafoth, to utilize its actualization ability, which removed her memories of her immediate family including Maruki. This cured her trauma and got her out of a catatonic state, but it resulted in Maruki cutting ties with her in order to not damage her any further and to continue his work on the cognitive world. Later on, his research was heavily praised until it was suddenly rejected by his university, and his funding was cut due to the influence of Masayoshi Ishido. His dream was to build a cognitive science research center in place of the stadium in Odaiba, but since that was no longer an option, he left the university and proceeded to help people using his actualization ability as a counselor. He eventually has an appointment with a young girl named Sumire Yoshizawa, who inadvertently got her sister Kazumi Yoshizawa ran over by a car. Unfortunately, she passed away, which traumatized her and amplified her wish to become Kasumi, as she believed that Kasumi should have lived as she was the better sister. Maruki used his actualization ability to change Sumire's cognition, which made her believe she was Kasumi, which she believes until that revelation during the 3rd semester. Fast forward, Maruki is implemented as Shujin Academy's counselor due to the Kamoshida situation, and throughout the game he has counseling sessions with all of the members of the Phantom Thieves in order to help them and figure out what their biggest desires are, except for Makechi.
Justice! Righteous! Keep that shit to yourselves! You and your teammates piss me off!
However, for Joker, he schedules multiple meetings with him to help him finish off the paper he was writing about cognitive science, and in return, he offers Joker mental training. During these meetings, he asks Joker very interesting questions about emotional pain, unconscious preconceptions, and the collective unconscious, which Joker answers. On November 18th, he admits to Joker that he's known since he first met him that he was a Phantom Thief, as he saw Joker, Ann, and Ryuji appear out of thin air, and shortly after, Kamoshida had his heart changed. Maruki promises that his intentions were always to help people, and he won't tell anyone about Joker's secret, which Joker agrees with. When Yaldabaoth attempts to merge reality with mementos, Maruki at the time was showing his paper to his old professor to spite him, but again the professor doesn't take him seriously as Shido was the one that shut down his research in the first place. Maruki notices the change in reality, which causes his persona Azeroth to awaken and take physical form. Maruki realizes what has happened, which starts the chain of events of the third semester, as Maruki takes control of mementos as soon as Joker destroys Yaldabaoth. With control of mementos, Maruki takes full control of reality and uses it to fulfill everyone's desires. This includes repairing Makoto and Sai's relationship while reviving their father, making Morgana human, reviving Wakaba, and potentially reviving Akechi as he presumably died within Shido's palace. The logic behind Akechi's revival is that this was Joker's greatest desire, which was to understand and actually get along with Akechi, but this was left open-ended due to the ending. Also during this period is when Sumire finds out that this entire time she was under Maruki's actualization ability, and briefly she fought to preserve Maruki's vision for the world as she believed that it was too painful to accept reality and she was happier living as Kasumi. During this period, Maruki offers Joker the option to accept his reality. However, indecision will lead to possibly one of the low-key darkest endings in Persona, where Joker will be unable to get out of bed as he has no will to actually live. But that's not what we're here for today. This dilemma is the main reason why I wanted to make this video, because what Maruki is doing isn't necessarily evil, or even villainous. In fact, some people such as Sumire probably viewed Maruki as a savior, which also would tie into his endgame palace garments and evolved persona Adam Kadmon, who as far as I'm aware has ties to Judaism and creation within Judaism, so it would directly link to being a messiah figure. If Joker agrees with Maruki, everyone within the Persona universe no longer has to deal with their pain, suffering, and insecurities. Many characters such as the ones stated before, and others are able to live out their lives perfectly without any tragedies or fear of failures, which honestly makes the world of Persona a much better place, especially considering the acts of the previous palace rulers who in this world wouldn't commit those crimes. Extending this to real life, that does beg the question, if you were given the option of utopia, would you take it? That's essentially what Maruki is offering, which is why I believe this is one of the most fascinating questions Persona has ever asked. Think about it. Every time you have failed in your life, when you fumbled that goal, lost that job, or even something more serious such as committing a crime when you were young and didn't know better. What if you just had the opportunity to accept a reality where it would be warped to your needs and fix your mistakes? Moreover, for any loved ones that you had lost, this reality would revive them without any consequences. I think that's the main sticking point with this reality. There would be no consequences, and honestly, as humans, that's something that we all naturally gravitate towards. All actions in life has consequences, but in this reality, that doesn't exist as your desires would predetermine the outcome, almost completely removing your free will in the process. Honestly, for most people, I believe they would accept this reality if they were offered it. That's not to say that that's even a wholly negative thing, as realistically, the only negative consequence would be the loss of free will, but for many, I don't think that would even change all that much. Now personally for me, I'll admit, if I was offered this proposition also with the terms that I wouldn't even know I'm living in an artificial world, which is also what Maruki offered Joker, it would be hard to say no, because if I say yes, then all my hopes and dreams would automatically be fulfilled. It's almost like achieving Kim for any of you guys that are Elder Scrolls players out there, or at least closer to turning on real life cheat codes, because my dream to make the NBA at 5'5" will become a reality. However, because of the life I've lived and my personality as a whole, I think I would decline, as the idea of not being in control of my life, the idea that all of the pain I've gone through in this life meant nothing, and the idea that everything I've done to grow as a person would immediately be wiped away, sickens me. This is actually a similar mindset as to how Akechi felt about Maruki's reality, even though his own existence was hinged on it, as he's again presumed dead. In fact, all of the Phantom Thieves, especially if you have maxed them out, have this same mindset as well, because the reality that Maruki created is essentially just a utopic version of Yaldabaoth's vision for the world. If the Phantom Thieves accepted Maruki's reality, all of the work they had been doing up until this point meant absolutely nothing, as they allowed another Holy Grail to take Yaldabaoth's place, and they are willingly giving up their will to stand up to it. Not only that, throughout the game, the Phantom Thieves have been growing from their pain and mistakes, which you see throughout the story, and their confidants, which again, as stated earlier, would have meant absolutely nothing. So, an easy example of this would be Futaba, who, without the Phantom Thieves, without growing from their pain, would not be as sociably capable as she was previously. This is the reason why I believe everyone should decline Maruki's reality, even though, for the most, it's probably the most logical answer. The person who you are today, watching this video, was built over a number of years of happiness, sadness, luxury, hardships, pain, and love. At the end of the day, getting rid of the bad parts of life would effectively mean that you would be stagnant as a person, and the good parts of life would cease to be special if you've never experienced the bad. Admittedly, feelings of pain would probably be erased from this reality, but another thing you have to consider is how long this reality would truly last. Maruki is only human, so at least for the Persona universe, this ability most likely has a time limit, unless actualization can grant immortality. Obviously, if that were to happen in real life, this could be different, but regardless, thinking about the logistics on a hypothetical question is a bit extra on my part. Lastly, and this bit is unscripted before I go into the conclusion, I do want to talk about Maruki's reasoning as to why he's even decided to use his actualization ability on the cognitive masses. And simply put, it's due to grief.
Oh, please. Help me kill every last one of my regrets. You're the only one I can ask to help me with this. Let's begin.
I gave up everything! Everything! So why?
And in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, each villain is represented by the deadly sins. And grief, as far as I'm aware, is a deadly sin that isn't a part of the 7 deadly sins, but it's somewhere in the historical context added in onto that. So, and the thing is with grief is a thing that we all experience, you know. And everyone almost does have a Maruki situation where they experience grief, and due to that, they end up going in a direction which avoids dealing with that grief. But the most healthy way to go about that would be simply to be mindful, simply to move on. But Maruki clearly is a villain, well, not a villain, but an antagonist that could not move past his grief with Rumi. And that's the reason why he now believes he has to save people and be the savior that no one really asked for. Maybe they wanted, but they didn't ask Maruki to be the specific savior. So an example of what I'm talking about is an easy one if someone dies, for example. At the end of the day, you can go ahead and then make sure that everyone is completely safe, you know, like for example, let's say they died from a car crash, so they never cross roads. That is an unhealthy way to get about grief. You need to now go ahead and be in a position where you need to get past that fear of like crossing roads. You need to get past that fear of cars, so you can now go on and live on to live a better life, you know, and understand that what happened with that person unfortunately getting run over was something that was out of your control. But yeah, that's just the bit I wanted to add in here. In conclusion, I think Maruki's reality is an incredibly interesting scenario, which I do not think is necessarily wrong to choose, but that all depends on how much you value your character and free will. Again, that sounds strange, but realistically, many people do not want any consequences for their actions, accountability, or growth through hardship, which sounds bad, but everything I've mentioned is all judged on social context and social constructs. Many people want to be YouTubers and streamers without hitting the upload button. Many people want to be 6'2" because they're insecure about their height, but they don't realize that their height doesn't define them. Many people want great relationships with people around them, but they're unwilling to change the bad parts about them. Many people wish their loved ones were still here, but unfortunately, life was never designed to be fair and just. Maruki's reality could help all of these people, which again isn't wrong to do so, but it would remove what it means to be human as we know it while turning our world into a playground for Maruki or another godlike figure. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've been wanting to make this video about Maruki for a while, and I'll be honest, I do wish I could have gone more in depth, and I do wish I'd made it a little bit longer, but again, I'm not too sure if you guys want, longer videos, shorter videos, so just make sure to leave that all in the comments below, as well as what you think about Maruki's, reality in the comments below. So, I'm hoping to try and keep it again within the 15-minute to 20-minute range when it comes to these videos. I also hope you guys enjoyed my unscripted, thing that I wanted to add in there. I felt like that was very important to say about Maruki as well. And yeah, honestly, again, just tell me how you feel about Maruki's reality. If you have any sort of anything that you want to share down in the comments below, make sure you do that. Even share your favorite Persona game, or any other Persona games, or any other games or movies or TV shows in general that you guys want me to cover. Feel free, leave that all in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a blast to make, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a lovely rest of your day.
I'm a bit occupied, so do your goddamn job!